My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins, and for the grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. As human beings, we don't like to be at fault. And because of that, we can be pretty good at coming up with excuses. And I came across an essay that was written by a student who had failed to hand in his homework, and so the teacher, as a punishment, gave him the assignment of writing an essay explaining why he did not hand in his homework. And the brief essay goes like this. I didn't do my homework because I don't want to do schoolwork over the weekend, because it is stressful for me, and it is my free time to go out with friends, to watch TV, and to play games. I don't do it also because it makes me very mad and unhappy. I do what makes me happy, because I want to be happy. Plus, my mom has been finding gray hairs, and I'm not trying to stress her out. Also, in the real world, jobs don't give you homework, unless you're a boss or a teacher. Homework is not a real thing in the real world, so we should not have to do it in school, because it's not useful. Case closed. The court rules in favor of Edward Cortez in the case of Student v. Homework. It looks like this student may someday be a lawyer. Anyway, I found it quite humorous, quite creative, the different reasons for why this boy refuses to do his homework over the weekend. And in this time of prayer, in this dialogue with you, Jesus, we want to pray about excuses that we can come up with in our prayer life, and also with regards to the other responsibilities that we have in life. Those responsibilities which, Lord, are your will for us, whether it's at work, in my family, with my friends. And we can be very creative, and so creative such that we come up with excuses without even thinking them through. It could be a knee-jerk reaction that I come up with an excuse for why I don't need to do what I really should do. There's a passage in the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 9. And Jesus says, he invites two people to follow him. We read in the Gospel, to one he said, "Follow me." But he replied, "Lord, let me first go bury my father." But he answered him, "Let the dead bury the dead, but you go and proclaim the kingdom of God." And another said, "I will follow you, Lord, but first let me say farewell to my family at home." Jesus answered him, "No one who sets a hand to the plow and looks to what was left behind is fit for the kingdom of God." Very interesting. Here we have invitations from Jesus to two people to follow him, perhaps to be an apostle or to be a close disciple. Right? We know from the Gospels that there were some disciples chosen for special missions when Jesus sends out 72 disciples in groups of two to go to different towns and villages where Jesus is going to go. And so he sends them out before him to prepare those towns for Jesus' coming. And the excuses, because we will call them excuses, because Jesus seems to treat them as excuses. Okay, these excuses, burying my father, going to say goodbye to my family, are good ones, and they don't seem to be lies. Right? And so we could say these are good excuses. And Jesus is not saying that those activities are bad, but that those or any other activity cannot be an excuse for not following him, for not doing his will. He's showing us that the most important thing is doing God's will. So, Jesus, we turn to you and we tell you that I can come up with masterful excuses and reasons, and sometimes not so masterful, for not doing what you asked me to do, for not doing what I should be doing. Sometimes those excuses are real, or sometimes they're made up. So, Jesus, help me see, where do I usually try to come up with excuses for myself? Sometimes to myself, or sometimes to others, And we also need to be careful, because this could be an area in which we lie, right? Where we could lie quite easily, or exaggerate the truth, which is basically lying. Let's think about certain aspects of our life where this could happen. For example, when it comes to sitting down to pray, to do our time of prayer, any number of excuses could pop into my head. For example, I need to check the news. Now, is it a good thing to check the news? Of course. But I'm taking a good thing and I'm placing it in front of a better thing that I had planned on doing. But it's also something I may not really feel like doing, or I feel like checking the news first. And so there I come up with an excuse for putting off something that I should do. And actually, let's remember too, that when I'm putting off my prayer, I'm putting off Jesus. So Lord, I'm sorry for having put off so many times talking to you, for coming up with excuses, and putting you second unnecessarily. Now, sometimes it might happen where we do have to legitimately delay the prayer. Things can come up, of course. But we got to be honest with ourselves and make sure we're not giving in to comfort seeking, and just giving in to what I feel like doing. So it could be our prayer. It could be doing my homework, like that example we read at the beginning of our time of prayer. It may be time to do my homework, and then I think, you know what? I really got to get to my emails. Oh, wonderful. Yes, keeping up with our correspondence is certainly a good, but it's in that particular moment, it's not the most pressing. And so then I turn it into an excuse for not doing what I ought to do, and what is actually God's will in that moment. God's will in that moment is probably to do my homework. Another area of our life could be doing my chores around the house. You know what? I'll do it a little bit later. I'm going to take a nap first, or I'm a little tired. Or it could be my boss is correcting me for handing in something late. And here, one thing which came to mind was we say a truth as an excuse, but it really wasn't the reason for why I didn't do what I was supposed to do. For example, I could tell my boss my mom was sick, which could be perfectly true, but it could also be true that the reason why I didn't hand in what I was supposed to hand in was actually because I wasted time watching sports. So yes, while it's true my mom was sick, taking care of her was not the reason for not getting my work done. I actually just misused my time. And so that would be another example of coming up with excuses. Not good reasons for doing something that I should have done. Another common thing is being late. This is something that I see in myself, right? And it can happen to others. I may be a bit late. I'm driving along in the car, and the light is red longer than I want it to be, or somebody cuts me off, and I get angry at them, and I blame them, and someone is blocking the intersection trying to take a left turn. So in my own head, I'm blaming these people. or I'm blaming the traffic. But actually, perhaps the real reason for why I'm late is not the traffic, or is not all these people that I'm blaming, but is really myself, that I left the house late. If I just left 5 minutes earlier, I'd be much more at peace. I'd be much calmer. So we can get very good at blaming others, at blaming anyone but ourselves, coming up with excuses that falsely excuse us from what we should be doing. So Jesus, help me be sincere with myself. Help me call myself out when I'm being soft and giving excuses for myself for not doing what I should be doing, for not doing what you're asking of me. And your will is usually right smack in my everyday duties and responsibilities, in my most material and immediate reality, as St. Josemaria Escrivá said in a homily. So let's get to know ourselves. How do I usually excuse myself? To myself or to others, right? I'm tired, I'm so busy, I didn't know, so-and-so didn't tell me, my dog ate my homework. I don't know. Let's get to know ourselves and see, what excuses do I usually make? So Jesus, I want to serve you and to do your will. Help me to do it right when you want me to, without making excuses. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations that you've communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help to put them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.